Hello. First row, Lindsay. Okay, I'm going to give it one more minute, and then we're going to get started here. I don't really have a good stage presence, but I went rogue, and I'm not wearing any pink, which is kind of like a big deal for Uniswap. And I'm doing that because I'm the designer, so I have to wear black. But luckily, I have this very cool limited edition Uniswap gray hat that nobody else in the world really has. So I'm still representing. All right. Shall we? Okay. So this talk is going to be about Uniswap, about designing Uniswap. So just a little bit of context if you don't know what Uniswap is and you don't know who I am. So I'm Callil. I'm Callil, also Callil.uni.eth. I'm the VP of Design at Uniswap Labs, which is the company that makes the Uniswap web app, makes the mobile apps, and all the things that we do these days. I've been working on the project since the beginning. I was the first person to work on it after Hayden, did all the prototyping, really early days kind of stuff. You might know us from this interface, right? The swap box. This is, these days, a very common interface that you see everywhere in DeFi. But I want to talk about why it just worked when we did it in the first place and what we're doing today to keep Uniswap just working. So a little bit of context of like why this is important. So some numbers that these are rough, by the way, but 75% of new wallets visit Uniswap on their first day in crypto or Web3 or on EVM chains. And we see about 30,000 new wallets every day on the Uniswap interface. These are pretty big numbers. We think we want to get them bigger, but it means that we're often the first stop for people when they're experiencing DeFi and self-custody for the first time. Another really kind of cool set of stats from that little swap box is that the Uniswap protocol, which is not only the interface, but other ways of accessing it, since we designed it, has done some pretty crazy numbers, right? So that little box has afforded like a lot of trading, a lot of innovation, and a lot of access to new tokens and new markets. Our goal at Uniswap Labs, our mission, is to unlock universal ownership and exchange. It's kind of a lofty mission, but we really believe in it. We're really trying hard to do it. And one of the big hurdles that you probably hear as you speak to people in this conference and on the internet and things like that is like, if we want to get to this end goal, right, why is it so hard to make crypto experiences that just work? It's really hard. I know it firsthand. And I think it's, when I think about this problem from a design point of view, I have a theory. It's kind of like loose, but I'm going to try to explain it to you. And then I'm going to show you how we apply that theory and try to make products that are really cool. Okay, so this is the first Uniswap interface, V1. And it looks a lot like it does today. And that's actually, we're really proud of that. We think that's a great thing. This was a little bit of an aha moment for a lot of people when they were using it for the first time because it gave them a mental model for trading that they hadn't really seen before. But the only way that that worked is because the app itself was super, super basic, right? I mean, this is really reductive, but basically this is what the app dealt with, right? The ERC20 standard, the logic of x times y equals k to make swapping work, ETH send transaction, and MetaMask, okay? So the app itself had a kind of like picture of the world that was very, very simple, okay? And because it had a picture of the world that was very simple, it meant that people who used it didn't have to hold very much context in their head, right? It made it so that the context that the app had to deal with also was very simple. And as we go forward into today, this is what the app looks like today, a lot of things have changed. And really what has changed is the context that the app lives within, right? If we rewind 6 years, there were no L2s, There were no, ENS wasn't really a big thing. There wasn't Wallet Connect. A whole bunch of things didn't exist yet. So over that period of time, what has happened is that our apps that we're building, all of a sudden, they start to model the world a lot more closely than they did back then, right? And what I mean by that is they have to start to bring into their boundaries things that are in the real world. So we're starting to cross over the edges of the closed loop logic that existed back in those early days. And this is really important, right? Because this is the kind of stuff that's going to make it accessible for people across the whole entire world. And so when we design at Uniswap Labs, we really think about what it means to sort of cross over those edges. I want to kind of give you guys a reference point. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, design theory, design thinking, there's a really cool book called Notes on the Synthesis of Form by this guy named Christopher Alexander. Christopher Alexander is an architect. He's written a lot of books, one called The Pattern Language. And in these books, he proposes that design is basically about synthesizing context and using patterns that people recognize together to make new things. And so basically, my theory about why it's so hard to make things in crypto that just work is because oftentimes we are given, as designers, systems that have logic that are closed, that are a lot that are self-referential and don't really often think about things outside of them. And that's on purpose, right? That's what makes these systems safe. But at the same time, humans are not really like that. When I step in front of a computer and I bring my context, my fear of money, my fast-paced life on the train, I don't really care. I want it to understand my context and to basically deal with the complexity of everyday life. So good design understands the context outside of the scope of the technical system and an understanding of people's mental models. If you do this well, people come away with the impression that it just works. So, okay, this is how I feel sometimes talking about this stuff, right? So I will kind of rewind and we'll get to the fun stuff now. But I just wanted to kind of leave you with that's how I think about things. That's how the team at Uniswap Labs, the design team thinks about things. And we try to practice that in our everyday work. Okay, so how do we as a team make it just work? We eat complexity. We follow our principles, which I'll show you in a second, and we repeat and iterate. So what are our principles? It's really important to have principles if you're building products because it's hard to have conversations about what's right to do, what the right thing to do is if you don't. So have product principles. So these are some of them. There are more, but we want to build things that are secure. We want to build things that are fast and affordable. And also, we want to give people options. I missed that one. And then design principles, we want to make people feel connected. We want to make things that feel useful and that are approachable. So these are two sides of the same coin, right? Okay, so now I'm just going to show you cool things we've built using these principles. So recently, we just put out Uniswap usernames. I'm going to play the trailer and then talk about it for a second. Okay, so what are Uniswap usernames? Basically, they're a system built on top of ENS. I'm going to go really fast through this just because there's a lot to get to, but they're a system built on top of ENS that allow people to claim a human-readable name when they onboard via the Uniswap wallet for free. And where this came from was the design team observing people doing onboarding onto our apps and talking to them about their experience. And one of the things that we noticed when people were doing it in real life, especially when you were getting onboarded by a friend, is that people would download the app, go through onboarding, they would get to the screen, and often the first thing that the person who was helping them onboard would say is send me your address because I want to send you ETH, okay? All right, so now, if you don't know that person individually, you may not have their number to text them. How do you get them to send them your thing, right? You can pull out the QR code, blah, blah, blah. But if you're doing it in a remote setting where you're not in person with them, it's kind of hard to then have to explain what an address is, have to explain all these complex things. Instead, it would be a lot nicer if you could just say, hey, what is your Uniswap username, right? And then send them money that way. And so these are small things that we built to make it easier to get involved with crypto, easier to get started with Uniswap, that are derived from these real world contexts and insights that we had when we were designing these things. It's really cool because it also is extensible, so it kind of builds on top of some of the principles that Ethereum is built on and ENS is built on, and we're sort of like kind of just extending that a little further to make things easier to use, and out of it you get this really cool world now of all these different names that people can claim and ways that people can represent themselves without having to spend gas to do so. Okay, the next slide I'm going to go to is, I'll go back, is a kind of a longer video or longer promo video of the stuff we've just released. And I'm going to play it. It's about a minute long, and then I'll just go back and walk through a few of the things, and then try to do a little demo really fast. All right. So in that video, you saw a few things. I want to talk about extensions specifically because I think this is another case that represents this approach to design. So something that we noticed as we were looking at wallets out there, first of all, they weren't really optimized for swapping. Second of all, when we watched people use them, there was a bunch of context that we felt like developers who had made extensions that were pop-ups were missing. Namely, the feeling of having many tabs open, the switching back and forth between browser windows, and losing your place, basically. And so we developed the Uniswap extension as a sidebar to bring the wallet to you, help it go with you wherever you go, but also to kind of like solve this problem of this lost context that people often complained about using traditional browser extensions as we know them. We also, of course, are trying to do better and improve this situation. Like, I love MetaMask, I have a lot of respect for them, but we gotta move on from that to this. All right, I think I have time. I'm gonna try to do a demo of one last really cool feature that I don't think we've showed ever about the extension. And it has to do with what we're trying to do in the future with this suite of products, and also a representation of what it means to try to bring more context to the experience of using crypto in your everyday life. Okay, let's see if the demo time will work. So, all right, well, here is the onboarding screen of the Uniswap extension. Some of you might have seen this from the booth, but I want to show you a really cool experience that we've built that we think is one of the first times that like Uniswap has really made something magical with this new suite of products. So on my phone, I have the Uniswap wallet here. It's a wallet that I use to swap, very simple, right? And let's say I'm a user who just downloaded the extension and I already have this app. What I can do is click down here, and I have the ability now to sync my wallets from my phone without having to copy and paste the seed phrase insecurely, kind of like deal with the complexity of all those things. And so on my phone here, all I have to do is scan this. Hold on, let's get it to focus. And I'm being asked basically to authenticate into the system. I get a one-time code to enter. So don't do this publicly, by the way, when you download this app. And then I have to make a password to secure my wallet on the extension. Right, ignore the demo bugs. But basically, in about under 1 minute, I've now got my wallet in my Uniswap extension, fully imported, fully working, with one scan and one OTP, and I can already go through and start to swap. So these types of experiences where once you start to have this suite of products and more context, you start to be able to do things between them and think a little bit more about like, what is the context that your user is in when they might want to set up an extension for the first time. And so one last thing just to show off about this extension and why we think it's really cool is that it does travel with you. So if I'm browsing Farcaster, for instance, and want to buy degen, I can do that really easily just from within the sidebar. And it's really cool because it kind of becomes your companion a little bit more. And we think that, I don't have enough ETH to swap. Sorry, demo fail. But anyway, it would work if I did, and it really becomes your companion to go with you as you sort of start to poke into these different apps, dApps, other experiences, news sources that might be the context in which you then choose to swap. All right, back to the slides. Okay, so a few more thoughts on context. We've been really working hard to understand better how the Uniswap apps are used in the world. This is something that we're really proud of that I think we don't talk about enough, but all of the apps that we put out in the world are fully translated with fairly high quality translations, but in a lot of languages and a lot of currencies as well. And we learned from looking at our data that Uniswap is a really global product. We do primarily have US users, but you'd be surprised at the distribution as you look across the different types of users that come to to our products. So this is something that we've really been focusing on, and we actually want to push way harder on it because we know that the context that people use their products in may not be, Denver, Colorado. And the last thing is we've been really working hard to bring a lot more chains to Uniswap as well, to the apps, and more are coming soon. So this is a little taste of the latest things we've been working on, using those principles to drive our decision making. What we're working towards, just to kind of conclude, is this unified experience across web, Android, iOS, browser extensions, and more, that uses the same design system, the same set of principles, a better understanding and a deeper set of insights about context and the way that people use these products in their everyday life. And we really think that this is sort of setting us up for a world where users may be able to kind of come and choose Uniswap and bypass all of the sort of centralized exchanges that people often come through first to get to DeFi. We're not quite there yet. We have a few more hurdles to get over, but we're working really hard to solve these in the next year. One thing that I think is really cool is that everything here, of course, is powered by the Uniswap protocol. It's getting stronger and more powerful every day. Recently, we released a version of something called Uniswap X, which enables swapping with no gas, which is really powerful, and it's something that we're actually going to accelerate on. So there's going to be a version of Uniswap that probably abstracts gas entirely. We're also releasing the ability to pay gas with any token very soon as well. So we're trying to tear down these barriers as we build out this platform. Coming soon, V4 is going to come out in Q3. That's a really big deal. Go read about it on the internet. Go talk with the Uniswap Foundation about it. A lot is happening. There's also some sneaky, hidden new features that are going to come to the extension and the wallets and the web app. But in general, our goal here is really to build out this platform, that understands people, understands the context that they swap, that they trade within. And we believe that that's going to result in a smarter way to swap. Thank you very much.